Ethan married Emily out of obligation, not love. Emily, with her gentle nature and kind heart, had always been a good wife, but Ethan could never reciprocate her feelings. His heart belonged to another woman, a colleague from work named Lily. Despite his efforts to ignite some semblance of affection for Emily, Ethan remained cold and distant. Guilt gnawed at him daily, and one evening, he decided it was time to be honest with Emily. Emily greeted him with her usual warmth when he returned home that night. She had prepared his favorite meal, hoping to bring some light into his life, but Ethan couldn't pretend anymore. As she placed the food in front of him, he looked away, unable to meet her gaze. "Emily, I need to talk to you," he began, his voice trembling with the weight of his confession. She noticed the strain in his voice and the sadness in his eyes. Her heart sank, but she forced a smile. "What is it, Ethan?" "I don't love you," he blurted out, the words cutting through the air like a blade. "I never have. I've been in love with someone else for a long time, and I can't keep living like this. I want a divorce." The room fell into a heavy silence. Emily's face remained calm, but Ethan could see the hurt in her eyes. He braced himself for anger, tears, or accusations, but instead, Emily simply nodded. "If that's what you want, I'll agree," she said softly. "But I have two conditions." Ethan was taken aback. "Conditions?" "Yes," Emily replied, her voice steady despite the pain she felt. "The first is that we wait until after our son's exams are over before we finalize the divorce. I don't want to disrupt his studies." Ethan agreed, relieved that she was being so reasonable. "And the second?" Emily hesitated for a moment before continuing. "Every day, for the next month, I want you to carry me in your arms from the front door to our bedroom, just like you did on our wedding day." Ethan frowned, puzzled by her request, but he saw no harm in it. "All right, I agree." From that day on, Ethan fulfilled Emily's request. Every evening when he returned home, he would lift her into his arms and carry her to their bedroom. At first, it felt awkward and strange, but as the days passed, Ethan began to notice things he had overlooked for years. He felt the softness of Emily's body, the warmth of her breath against his neck, the way she clung to him as if she never wanted to let go. He saw the love in her eyes, a love that had remained unwavering despite his coldness. Slowly, Ethan's feelings began to change. He started to look forward to those moments with Emily, and he found himself caring for her in a way he hadn't before. He noticed the small sacrifices she made every day, the way she always put their son and him first, even when it hurt her. But as the days went by, Ethan also noticed something else. Emily was growing weaker. Her once bright eyes had lost their sparkle, and her skin had become pale and fragile. She smiled less, and when she did, it was tinged with sadness. One evening, as he carried her to the bedroom, Ethan felt how light she had become. Alarmed, he placed her on the bed and asked, "Emily, what's wrong? You've lost so much weight, and you seem so tired all the time." Emily looked at him with tear-filled eyes and finally confessed the truth she had been hiding. "Ethan, I have cancer. The doctors say I don't have much time left. That's why I wanted to stay with you for this month. I wanted to spend my last days with you, to feel your love, even if it's just an illusion." Ethan's heart shattered. He realized that while he had been consumed by his feelings for Lily, Emily had been quietly suffering, carrying the burden of her illness alone. And now, it was too late. The woman he had neglected and taken for granted was slipping away from him, and there was nothing he could do to save her. Desperate to make amends, Ethan devoted himself to Emily entirely. He canceled his plans with Lily and focused all his attention on his wife. He cooked for her, cared for her, and held her in his arms every chance he got. He whispered words of love and gratitude, hoping to make up for the years of neglect. As the days passed, Emily's condition worsened. She was rushed to hospital and was too weak to move. Ethan stayed by her side, holding her hand, praying for a miracle that would never come. He regretted every harsh word, every moment of indifference, and every time he had chosen Lily over Emily. On the last day of the month, her body was frail, and her breathing was labored. As he laid her down, she looked up at him with a smile, her eyes filled with love and peace. "I love you, Ethan," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Thank you for giving me these last few days." Tears streamed down Ethan's face as he leaned down and kissed her. "I love you too, Emily. I'm so sorry for everything. I wish I could turn back time and do things differently." But it was too late. Emily's eyes fluttered closed, and with a final sigh, she passed away in his arms. Ethan was left alone in their home, filled with memories of a love he had only realized too late. He thought about the sacrifices Emily had made for him, the love she had given him without asking for anything in return. He had lost the most precious person in his life, and now all he had was regret. In the months that followed, Ethan tried to move on, but he could never forget Emily. The house was empty without her, and everywhere he looked, he saw reminders of the life they had shared. He often visited her grave, bringing flowers and talking to her, as if she could still hear him. He broke off all contact with Lily, realizing that what he had felt for her was nothing compared to the love he had lost. He poured all his energy into raising their son, hoping to be the father Emily had wanted him to be. But no matter how hard he tried, he could never shake the feeling that he had failed Emily, that he had let her down when she needed him most. Years later, as Ethan lay on his deathbed, he thought of Emily. He wondered if she had forgiven him, if she knew how much he had loved her in the end. His last thoughts were of her, and as he closed his eyes for the final time, he whispered her name, hoping that in the next life, he would have a chance to make things right.